Or refusing to pay up after an Aussie punter struck it rich. British-based bet365 has only just been given a licence to operate in Australia after some stiff opposition from sections of the racing and gambling industries. Now it's under fire for welching on a legitimate bet it had accepted, then trying to cover itself by changing its own rules on payouts through stealth. Frank Pangallo has our report.
Hello. I'd like to tell you about bet365.com.
I believe I should be entitled to what I won.
The world's biggest online sports betting company.
It seems to be okay for their customers to lose their shirts, but if they take a fall in terms of having to pay out, they're reluctant to pay out.
Rose Portia went to the lead from Golden Emperor. Rose Portia comes away to beat either Golden Emperor or Four-Way Mouse.
Darwin punter Steve Brunker couldn't believe his luck when his bet on selecting the first 4 greyhounds in a race meeting at Ipswich last month got up.
I was quite ecstatic. First of all, I had to go and check my combinations to make sure I had them, and then wait for the dividends to get declared. Because the roughest dog in the field won the race, I thought it'd be a quite reasonable dividend. I was expecting the dividends to maybe be $4,000, of which I would have had it 5 times.
Steve had placed his multiple bets totalling almost $5,000 with UK-based internet bookmakers Bet365. These are the betting slips they issued.
Under the conditions of the bet I placed on, they paid the highest of the totes that I elected, and I elected the TATS one, which is Unitab, and so they had to pay the dividend 5 times that dividend, according to the terms and conditions that I placed the bet under.
And Unitab's declared dividend was a whopping $14,632.60 for 1 unit.
I was over the moon. Couldn't believe I'd jagged something like that. Once I knew what the dividend was, I knew I'd had it 5 times, and I knew it was $73,000.
Yeah, I've just been looking at the latest live odds. Nice.
As we know, Bet365 is over 60 in-play markets. Oi!
But Steve's elation soon turned to dismay and disbelief when he was contacted by Bet365, which boasts being the biggest bookie on the planet and was recently granted a licence in the Northern Territory to operate in Australia.
Then they rang me and said, we're not paying you any winnings on that bet. And in fact, we're going to refund you all your bets and not pay you on that.
And just to add insult to injury, Bet365 also closed his account because they claimed, bizarrely, it was uneconomical, then told him to read their terms and conditions on payouts, which only incensed Steve even more when he saw them, because it is quite clear here in black and white.
They're prepared to lose 100,000 British pounds on a race, and they quote in British pounds because they're a worldwide agency and they want to be consistent, and which roughly probably 100,000, 150,000 Australian dollars.
This was a mongrel act by Bet365, and they need to be held accountable to it. The excuses they've given are beyond a joke.
Anti-gambling crusader Senator Nick Xenophon says Bet365 is openly flouting the terms of its licence and is prepared to mount a legal challenge on behalf of Steve Brunker.
Steve played by the rules, and now it seems that Bet365 wants to change the rules and deprive him of his winnings. I think he has arguably a good case against Bet365.
But even more alarming, Steve caught out Bet365 when it submitted new terms and conditions to the Northern Territory Racing Commission this month, reducing its maximum payouts on exotic bets like Steve's from £100,000 to the greater of £20,000, or the total amount in any tote pool, but backdated to June 25th, a month before Steve placed his winning bet.
The big issue is if Bet365 changed their terms and conditions, they backdated them without letting players know, then I reckon that's something that should be the subject of regulatory sanctions, including their licence.
It's terrible. In fact, I'm going to ask the NT Racing Commission to seriously consider revoking their licence to operate in the Territory.
Well, the Northern Territory Racing Commission tells us it's taking Steve's complaint seriously and has launched an investigation. In the meantime, to avoid the PR disaster it's become for them, Bet365 offered Steve $25,000 to settle the matter. but he's flatly refused.
We as a community have got an obligation to let people know of what's happened here, and you might invested, in this case I invested $4,992. They're happy to take the bet, and if I'd lost, they would have kept the money.
They do great odds on a massive choice of sports.
Well, I think the new slogan for Bet365 should be Bet365, you should avoid them 24/7.
Cheers, bruv. You're the daddy.
No, you're the daddy.
Well, we did contact Bet365's Australian headquarters in Darwin more than a week ago to speak to one of their senior managers. They still haven't bothered to call us back. Frank Pangallo with that report.